In our last couple of videos, we've been looking at some major fires that occurred in the city of Port Huron, and today we want to look at a couple more. The first one we want to look at occurred in this building here, which is the Parfait building. People of a certain age refer to it as a Parfait building because at one time a car dealership by the name of Parfait was there. Parfait Ford and later Parfait Ladd Ford dealership, as you can see in this photograph here. If you want to know more about the Parfait auto dealership, we covered it in videos number 63 and 64. But at the time of the fire, there was another auto dealer here by the name of Port Pontiac, and you can see one of their Pontiacs parked right out in front. There were two other companies in the building at the time of the fire. One was Erd Marshall Company, which we covered in video 64 briefly. And you can see that the entrance was at the north end of the building. But since that time, I've got more information on it. I thought I'd share that with you at this time. The entrance is quite small, as you can see in relationship to the rest of the building. But Erd Marshall had the whole second floor for their factory, as you can see here. The caption on this photograph reads like this: "In this well-lighted and attractive room on the second floor of the former Parfait building, military at white streets, snowsuits and coat sets, which appeal to women, misses, and children of the United States and Canada, are manufactured daily by the Erd Marshall Company. Scores of sewing machines are operated by these women, who work under ideal factory conditions. Each machine is equipped with an individual light, and the room has about 50 ceiling lights, windows on the east, south, and west sides, and 2 long skylights add light and ventilation. The room was remodeled and redecorated by Erd Marshall Company. An idea of the excellent lighting condition is given by the fact that this photograph was taken in natural light while work was going on in the factory. From a woman's idea to make something different in garments for women and children, grew a factory with customers all over the United States and throughout parts of Canada. The business was started by a woman, which was quite unusual in 1919. That woman was Mrs. Edith Erd Marshall. She started with a second-hand sewing machine. She made 25 children's coats and dresses, which were used as samples. Her ideas were original and the dresses sold. It wasn't long before it was necessary to hire a seamstress and a girl skilled in hand embroidery. Mrs. Marshall designed clothes while the girls sewed. The business was started in this building here with the big round windows. Many of us remember it as Ortenberger's or perhaps Diane Hughes. But at that time it was the Cochran Dry Goods Company, as you can see in this ad. There was no factory then, it was just a small shop on the 3rd floor. It wasn't called the Erd Marshall Company then, it was called the Marshall Tots Shop. And here you see one of their very first ads. I'll just let you take a gander at it as I scroll down it. About 1920, Marshall Tots Shop moved to another location, and that was the Vogue Millinery Shop on Huron Avenue. It says this: the Marshall Tots Shop will move from its present quarters about June 10th to occupy a portion of the Vogue Millinery Shop on Huron Avenue. And then it goes on to list the bargains that they have. The Vogue Hat Shop was at 330 Huron Avenue. Of course, that's where Firestone is today. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. It was where I used to work, but that's not the case. I know this because of this ad. If you look on the bottom right-hand corner, it says Millinery Salon, 3rd floor. Well, Firestone building only has 2 floors, so there's definitely another building there at that time. And it had 3 storefronts. It was divided into 3 different businesses, and Vogue Hats was one. It was at this location that Marshall decided to stop selling retail and start selling wholesale only. This ad ran June 24th, 1925. It says this: Marshall's Tot Shop for sale. The retail shop of Erd Marshall's company, known as Marshall's Tot Shop, is to be sold. The rapid growth of the manufacturing end of this business has become so large that the elimination of the retail shop is necessary. And it goes on saying how everything else is reduced and come on down and get the bargains. They stayed at that location until they outgrew it, which was 1927. They moved to 507 Huron Avenue, but not this building, because if you recall, this building was destroyed by fire. But in 1927, a new building was built for the Watson Brothers Plumbing Company. In July of 1927, this was the front page of the Times Herald. Watson Brothers to have formal opening Friday and Saturday. And it goes on showing pictures of the founders as well as the building. Here's a much better photograph of the building. And you can also see there's a building next to it. When the Bear building burned down, it actually took two buildings to replace it. The south end of it had the Van Heften pharmacy drugstore there. And then the north end would have had the Watson Brothers. But not just the Watson Brothers by themselves. Erd Marshall went in there as well and occupied the second and the third floor. So they actually occupied more space than the Watson Brothers did in that building. And take a look at this gas pump out in front of the store. This is the best picture I've ever seen in Port Huron of a gas pump in front of a business. Let's zoom in here, you take a little closer look at it. I like how they just left the hose on the sidewalk. No big deal. Anybody got a match? This appeared in the same newspaper. We extend a hearty invitation to the people of Port Huron and visitors to inspect our splendid new factory on the second and third floor of Watson Brothers' new building. Our factory is the only one of its kind in the United States. And as we scroll upward, we'll see congratulations from the different vendors that worked on the building, the Erd Marshall Company. In 1927, in the paper, they were bragging about their legacy of 30 years from 1897 to 1927. But that's not a legacy. This is a legacy. Watson Brothers Company, proudly serving the Blue Water area for 121 years. Amazing. In 1896, John Watson started John Watson Plumbing Company. Soon after, his brothers James and Robert joined, and in 1898, Watson Brothers Company was founded. They started out small, installing and serving plumbing systems around Port Huron by horse-drawn wagon, as you can see right here. I imagine they were thinking back then, I hope we're in business another year, let alone 121 years. If you want to know more about Watson Brothers, we covered it in video number 60 when they were at this location. But I digress, we're talking about Erd and Marshall. It's very easy for me to get sidetracked. I really never knew much about Erd and Marshall. I just thought they were a local business, nothing too big. I actually didn't know anything about these factories that they had. I knew that the better stores like Winkleman's carried their products, but I thought I was about as far as it went. But I wasn't alone not knowing this, because look at this woman's story here as she went to New York. Yes, Port Huron is well known on Fifth Avenue due to Mrs. Marshall. A Port Huron woman visiting in New York was attracted by a display of children's garments in one of the exclusive Fifth Avenue shops of the nation's metropolis. She entered the shop, purchased several of the garments, and ordered them shipped to her at her home address. When she gave the shipping address, the clerk from whom she had made the purchase said, "Port Huron? Why, that is where the garments you have just bought were made." The shopper said she had never heard of such a factory in her home city, and there are hundreds of other persons in Port Huron who are unaware that one of the most reputable concerns making children's garments in the country is located in the heart of Port Huron's business section, and that a woman is head of the concern. 10 years after they moved into the Watson Brothers building, they moved once again. This time it was their final location at the Parfait building at White Street and Military Street. September 15, 1937, this appeared in the paper. Public invited to visit new Erd Marshall plant. Building transformed for Erd Marshall factory. Idea develops the huge shop. Firm has branch in Sarnia. And on the right you see congratulations from Winkleman's and also Southside Lumber Company that supplied 15,000 feet of hardwood flooring. And then below that, a hearty welcome to our new neighbor, the Erd Marshall Company, from Warehouse Food Market. The third business that was in the Parfait building at the time of the fire was the Keesler Distributing Company, run by Jerry Keesler. And here you can see an ad for it. February 15th, 1957, this was the front page of the Times Herald. Fire perils 3 business firms. New firewalls confine blaze to warehouse. Port Pontiac, Erd Marshall, Keesler firms hit. A fire which may have been caused by an overheated furnace pipe burned for about 2 hours late Thursday night and early today through the ground floor of the Port Pontiac building. It apparently started in the 4th Street level of the building occupied by the Keesler Distributing Company, where some 3,000 cases of beer and 4 trucks were destroyed. 2 new cars in the Port Pontiac showroom on Military Street, and 10 to 15 customer cars and some new ones in the front part of the storage room behind the showroom on the Military Street level were driven out before the fire and smoke prevented further damage. The 15 remaining new cars stored at the extreme east end of the Military Street level were removed after the fire was brought under control. All were damaged by smoke, but not by fire or water. Mrs. Edith Erd Marshall, president of Erd Marshall Company, owner of the building, said several firewalls constructed recently at a cost of some $15,000 prevented the fire spreading to other parts of the building. Here's what I thought was funny. The same newspaper that you just saw the front page on, saying that the building was almost destroyed by fire, we see this ad from Port Pontiac. Port Pontiac fire sale. 57 Pontiacs must be moved. No fire damage, slight smoke and water damage. Get our deal. Terrific savings. Now that's an entrepreneur to have the ad appear the same day the fire appears. And a week later, they followed up with this ad. About 20 years later, on Christmas Eve, 1978, there was another fire that destroyed most of the rear of the building, as you can see from this photograph here. Firefighters contained the fire a short time after they arrived, but not before the flames spread to a nearby Detroit Edison Company transformer. And you can see the photograph of that here. About 450 people lost power because of it. Well, I thought I'd be able to cover another major fire in Port Huron, but time wasn't on our side, so we'll cover it in our next video. So join me then.